Hello guys and welcome. The big question of today is, what character should you main for 9.1? And yeah, 9.1 is getting closer and closer and some changes happened, and when you're creating a new character you end up on that screen and you see like a lot of options that you have, many specs, and some characters look like really cool and you're like, oh, I really want to play that, but is that character good? How's it performing this patch? And that's a question we will answer today, guys. Like, I know it's really difficult and challenging picking our main character and what to main on a certain patch, because the meta is always shifting. But for 9.1 I've already noticed, and with the patch notes, that some of the classes like are looking really good. And yeah, currently we have a certain DPS meta, and for Mythic Plus it's Fire Mage, Outlaw Rogue and Balanced Druid taking the top 3 lead, and their damage output is just crazy insane in Mythic Plus. They have great utility as well, and they bring a lot to the table, also when it comes to AoE scenarios, so I'm not surprised that they are on top. But there are also some other class specs that are performing well, like for example Affliction Warlock, Unholy Death Knight is also really good. But some nerfs happen, so you will see the meta change a lot. And for Castle Nathria we also had a DPS meta, and to no surprise Balanced Druid is on top, followed by Affliction Warlock. Shadow Priest is doing really well for raids, but less for Mythic Plus. However, it's still okay in Mythic Plus, like you can still get somewhere with it, but wow. Yeah, but now some nerfs happened, so the meta is definitely gonna change. If you were like all excited about maining our Fire Mage for the next patch, you might be a little disappointed because your damage output has been reduced. So what we currently have is Flame Strike damage will be reduced by 10%. The Flame Patch talent is also reduced by 10%, so it's already 2 nerfs. The Kindling cooldown reduction has been reduced to 1 second. It was 1.5 seconds before. So that's like a little buff, but it's not really a game changer. And now something that's also really shit. Infernal Cascade. Fire damage has been reduced by 20%. Also very annoying. So you will definitely see Fire Mage go down by a couple of rings. But that can be also something good for some others that are playing like another class spec. Like for example, it's good for Unholy DK or Marksmanship Hunter, because they would be moving up in Mythic Plus by a bit, right? And like more people would want to invite them. So I think what Blizzard is trying to do here with the nerfs, and that's how I see it, they're trying to bring the A and B tier up to like B to A tier and A to S tier to balance things out. But I'm not sure if nerfing the meta is really the right thing to do, instead of adding like tiny buffs to some other classes, because there were like a lot of hours spent on certain characters with the grind and gear, and now they are not anymore the meta. So I know this is really frustrating. Like I have a Balanced Druid myself that I spent like a lot of time on, also leveling and stuff, and then I see suddenly those nerfs incoming. But if you love your character because of the aesthetics and because of the lore and the way it looks, and you're attached from time to this character, like you should definitely still play that character. But yeah, as I mentioned, Balanced Druid took also a pretty high hit. So if you look at, for example, Solstice now, causes shooting stars to fall 200% more often, and it was 300% before. That's a heavy nerf right there. Like 200% more often from 300%. That's like a 1/3 decrease in damage. That is a lot, guys. And Stellar Drift talent has been redesigned. So the Starfall damage has been increased by 25% and allows to be cast while moving while Starfall is active. But now it has a, and that's something for the rotation, 15-second cooldown. So you will see this being used now differently, and there are now probably some talents. That's something that I'm expecting, but this has to be tested first of all. There are some talents now that will be switched on the Balanced Druid. So now you have, maybe it's a bit good also, because now you have like more options. So if there's like a certain talent that you prefer on the Balanced Druid, You now can pick this one instead, because there's no more meta that's dictating you basically from what to pick, right? And the free Starfall from Honest Clear Vision, Rune Carving Power, ignores the Stellar Drift Talent Starfall cooldown. Okay, that's pretty interesting. Let's see how this turns out. Blends of all things now grants 24% increased critical strike chance. It was 40%. That's also yet a interesting nerf. And decreases by 3% every 1 second, and it was before 8% every 1 second. And that's why I'm saying that's an interesting nerf, because something gets nerfed while something else gets buffed. So we have to see how this will affect the overall damage output. For Affliction Warlock, that's something that I was maining for a while, and this hit me really hard when I saw this, because I know the time that I spent into my character and all that grinding. And yeah, this one is very significant. I also see this. I'm not sure if this will go live like this, because this is a really, really heavy nerf. Malefic Rapture damage has been reduced by 18%. I'm actually wondering where this number comes from. Why is it 18%? Why is it not like, for example, 10% or 9%? Where is this number coming from? Like some of those nerfs, I'm like surprised. Where does the 10% come from? Why is it not a 6 or 8%? Why do some numbers have to be a certain number? Like how did they calculate this when they nerfed it? How did they know they have to reduce this by exactly 10%? Why is it not 6% or something like that? Like some nerfs, I wonder why they are on this number. Why is it not 6 or 8? Or why is it here 18 instead of, let's say, 10% or maybe 9 or 8? Like why is it like that? That's something I'm trying to understand, because I can't read this out from here. I don't see why this happened. And here, agony damage increased by 20%. And that's something that is really confusing to me about Affliction Warlock, because they nerf a burst skill that could have had some nice use in some scenarios where you have to like nuke something quickly, and buff a dot. What is really good, because that actually helps you now with AoE scenarios. So now you can use a mix of corruption and agony to nuke stuff down, instead of constantly spending your shots on Malefic Rupture. Like, this is something that's good for less experienced players, but if you are like on top of the top and you know your rotations perfectly and you know how to execute them and still keep your mobility, especially when it comes to like mechanics, for example Mythic Plus and raids, like that is a heavy nerf for like the top players, but a buff for the less experienced players. And this is also interesting here. Shadow Embrace now lasts 16 seconds, and it was 12 seconds before, but can now only be applied to one target at a time. Like, the question that comes to my mind here is, when I look at this, how are you gonna finish off, for example, now low health targets, and you do like a target switch, right? Because then that means your Shadow Embrace will be gone, right? And that really sucks, right? So you can no longer snipe low HP mobs, and that really sucks. Focused Malignancy effectiveness has been reduced by 53%. Oh wow. There's also a big reducement here. Sacrolash's Dark Strike has been redesigned. Corruption damage is increased by 25%, was 15%. Okay, that seems like a nice buff. And each time corruption deals damage, it extends the duration of all your curses active by 2 seconds. Okay. So now there's a way to extend curses. It's interesting. Now Shadow Priest received 1 nerf, so I don't think this one is really gonna change the way Shadow Priest plays a lot. And if Shadow Priest was your main this whole time and you like it, this won't lead to a spec change for you, but it's still a nerf. Dissonant Echo's Conduit now grants 20% increased Void Bolt damage, and was 35%, so there's a 15% damage nerf. It is a nerf, but it's not as heavy as, for example, Affliction Warlock or Balanced Druid or Fire Mage, because they literally got cut down by at least 1 DPS rank at least. So if they were like S tier, maybe I can see them now being like A tier or something. But that will also move B tier up, maybe, let's see. And A tier will now be S tier on some specs. because you don't have another option, and there must be always at least like 3-4 S tier specs, right? And now there are some interesting buffs. So if you ever wanted to play a disciplined priest, now maybe... Wait, what is happening here? Spirit Shell talent cooldown increased to 19 seconds, was 60 seconds. Wait, what's happening here? What? That's something I also don't understand. Why did they actually change that? Like, there are some of those changes that I'm not understanding why they are happening. Because there are some skills that were not under or overpowered, but they are being changed. Like, that's why I said earlier, like, I don't get the math behind, like, why is something 18%, why is something 20%? Like, why is this not, for example, 6 or 8% and this just 12% or something? Like, I don't know how they pick numbers, but that's pretty interesting. And yeah, if you wanted to be a holy priest healer in your group, now you have an interesting buff here. Symbol of Hope has been redesigned. Bolster the morale of party or raid members within 40 yards. They each recover 60 seconds of cooldown on a major defensive ability. Interesting. And they regain 12% of their missing mana over 5 seconds. That's a nice buff. But I see why they would do that, because there are some other healing specs that are currently a bit more favored in some scenarios, right? And they want to bring Holy also up there, so people that are loving the Holy Priest feeling now have also a way to be relevant, right? I mean, Holy Priest wasn't that bad, okay? I'm not like trying to hate on Holy Priest, but there are some other healing specs that are a tiny bit better, I would say. And yeah, some interesting buffs here to Warlock, especially for those of you that are maining Destruction, because you just love freaking explosions and those big hitting Chaos Bolts. Like, that's something nice that's happening here. And Dark Pact's additional Absorb Shield has been increased by 216%. You gotta be crazy tanky with that one. Was that already quite a tanky talent from what I have seen and observed? And now you get additional percentages on top. Are they really sure they want to go live like that with that? Or do they want to probably tune this down, maybe like half it or something? Okay, that's interesting. And here, this is something that I'm actually really liking. I think this would be interesting for PvP. Even though this is not a lot, this is still interesting. Chaos Bolt damage has been increased by 10%. Oh wow, now we are even nuking stuff more. Like I can see this also be really affecting PvP, because before you were able to really nuke down targets with Chaos Bolt, and now if you get like a 10% on top of that, like, this is so nice right there. Alright, and there are also some new Conduit slots coming, so it's getting extended. We have no more options when it comes to Conduits, and I wonder if the Covenant meta will change as well, because there are also some changes going on. And they also added some PvP changes. Let's have a look at those PvP changes as well. So for the PvP changes, the Frost DK will get a new PvP talent, Shroud of Winter. And I have no clue what this one does, but from the name I would assume it's some sort of maybe ice aura, some kind of wind around you. Maybe it deals damage to others that are in like melee range. That's something that I'm reading out of here, but let's see. And Heartstop Aura PvP talent has been removed. Okay, that's interesting. For the Mage, Kleptomania PvP talent is now Arcane only. I wonder why they did that. Interesting. Dampened Magic has been removed. Okay, I've noticed that like a lot of PvP talents have been removed, and like other ones have been added or like altered. Like here, for example, after Dampened Magic has been removed, a new PvP talent is introduced, Arcanosphere. What is that? Some Arcano ball that's like shooting at targets or something. Like, I don't know what that is. Interesting. Arcane Blast now deals 20% more damage in PvP combat. That's interesting. They're buffing Arcane Mage in PvP. I think that's a good buff. Now Fire has a new PvP talent, Ring of Fire. I like the name of it. Controlled Burn PvP talent has been redesigned. Ignite deals 100% more damage while Combustion is not active? Interesting. So they want you to not have this active when you use that skill. Okay, so a change of gameplay here. That's also interesting when I see some buffs or nerfs actually changing like rotations and game styles. Now, World in Flames PvP talent now causes Flame Strike to reduce the cast time of Flame Strike by 50%. And it was 1.5 seconds. Wait, what's that change exactly? Like, I would have to calculate this. So it has been reduced by 50% from 1.25 seconds. What was actually the cooldown of this? I'm not sure. I mean, what was the cast time, not cooldown before? I'm not 100% sure what it was before, but we would need to calculate this. And increases its damage by 30% for 3 seconds. It was 20%. Okay, that's nice. That's an interesting burst buff, so you have like more burst with that. Interesting. Frost Mage gets Ice Wall. Oh wow, I think that looks really, really interesting. Ice Wall, now you can summon a freaking Ice Wall in front of you. And Frostbolt now deals 100% more damage in PvP combat. Wait, what? It was 15% and they made it 100%? That's broken right there. So those of you that want to play a Frost Mage in PvP, it's not a type to maybe change from fire to frost. Like, the cool thing is about all classes, you have like plain Bs always, like other specs. For example, I switched to Destruction from Affliction after I saw those nerfs, and I'm really liking Destruction, so you don't need to change your class, but maybe in some scenarios it would make sense to change your spec, unless you're really into a certain spec's lore or playstyle. But wow, Frostbolt, that's interesting. And Deep Shatter PvP talent now increases the damage of Frostbolt by 75% on frozen targets. Well, that's a huge nerf from 50%. Okay, that's interesting, because now you have less burst with that. Okay, Burst of Cold, I just talked about burst. Now increases the damage of Cone of Cold by 600%, was 400%. That's something I find weird in this patch notes. We have skills that get nerfed and others get buffed, and I wonder why that is. Like, if something is overperforming and they nerf it like by a bit, I think that would be enough, but why buff something? Why nerfing something? Why not look at something that's overpowered and just tune it down like a tiny bit to be more in line with others, instead of like reworking whole things? Like, let's see how this will turn out on PTR. Like, people will test a lot, I can already see that. And here, Monk Mistweaver. Wow. 3 new PvP talents. Peace Weaver, Dematerialize, and Thunderous Tea. That has a nice name, Thunderous Tea. So you're basically getting a shock from drinking tea. Interesting. Counteract Magic PvP talent has been redesigned. Each hostile magic effect removed from a target increases the healing they receive from you by 2% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 10 times. Interesting. Healing done by Soothing Mist increases the healing of the next expel harm on target during the channel. Okay, and then now this causes you to dispel 1 magic poison or disease effect. Ooh. So you can get rid of stuff. That's interesting. I like that one actually. Eminence PvP talent has been redesigned. Transcends. Transfer can now be cast while stunned, and its cooldown decreases by 15 seconds if it's cast while not stunned. Okay, that's also a gameplay changer. Interesting. Surging Mist has been removed. Wait, that's weird. So they remove 1 PvP talent but add 3. Wait. Oh, wait a second. I think I get it. So there's 3 new PvP talents, and here is some redesign. Or are those the new names for those redesigned ones? Or why are they getting more PvP talents and just losing 1? Like, something makes no sense here, because earlier we saw something is removed, like 1 PvP talent, and another one comes in. Here we are getting on the Monk 3 PvP talents, but only 1 has been removed. Wait, what? Or is that 3 for those? But that means they still have -1, so they would have to list here 4. Okay, I'm confused at this. Now, Priest, new PvP talent, improved Mass Dispel. Shadow, Lasting Plague, PvP talent has been removed. What does this do actually? Because I also have a Priest, I'm like curious. Improved Mass Dispel. Is that like a AoE Mass Dispel or something that also affects your Okay, I'm confused now. Maybe this is like a group talent or something. I don't know. Because it sounds like not only mass dispel, but improved mass dispel. Maybe that's like something that's good for groups. I don't know. Mark of the Master Assassin. Rune carving power. Duration has been reduced by 40% in PvP combat. Okay, that's a nerf. Were rocks that overpowered in PvP? I didn't feel like that from what I've seen. New PvP talent, Hemotoxin. Okay. What does this one do? A neurotoxin has been removed. So now we get another toxin on the rogue from Hemotoxin. From neurotoxin to Hemotoxin. So it's like a different mixture basically. Interesting. New PvP talent, Shadow Rift, Affliction. So Shatter has been removed. Oh, okay. New PvP talent, Fell Obelisk. Oh yeah, that's the one that I read on the Warlock Discord, because I'm also on the Warlock Discord because I'm mostly playing Warlock. Call Fellord, PvP talent now deals 200% of the caster spell power per swing, was 5% of target's maximum health. Oh. Cooldown of the ability increased to 2 minutes, was 1.5 minutes. So from what I'm reading here, they made this like stronger. Because I think that scaling is better than the 5% max health. But then again, it depends on who you are fighting against. And okay. But here we have a cooldown increase. So they wanted to make this stronger, but be used less, right? It's kind of like it's time to nuke now, basically. And then you use that. Okay, Singe Magic PvP talent has been removed. Okay, so this one replaces that. Interesting. New PvP talent, Bonds of Fel. I like the name of it, Bonds of Fel. I don't know what you're doing here. Maybe bonding with Fel, just like it says. Interesting. And here, Chaos Bolt now deals 40% more damage in PvP combat, was 15%. Wait a second. Is that a bit too much? Didn't Chaos Bolt just get buffed by 10%? Now they add another 40%? Oh, I already see like even bigger Chaos Bolts incoming. Yeah, why do they do that? This is something I don't get. It has just been buffed by 10%. But then again, the scaling is probably different. This just looks like a lot, but maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just being confused by those numbers that look so high. But yeah, Focus Chaos PvP talent has been removed. So Focus Chaos has been replaced by Bonds of Fel. Interesting. Yeah, there are new rune carving powers. I don't know what they are. Like, we will get a version 2 of this for sure. I hope soon. I can also review those. But I think it's looking really interesting. And to the question of what you should main, like what spec, what class in 9.1, it's still a bit unclear to say that. But one thing that I know is, if we look at like the DPS meta, and if you are into DPS, if you were, for example, having an alt character that was, for example, Unholy DK, or you have, let's say, a Fury Warrior, and you were like maining a balanced druid, now you can consider to main your Unholy Death Knight or your Fury Warrior, or if you wanted to make one, because they're looking really, really nice at this moment, and they're not being touched, right? And it was not like Fury Warrior or Unholy DK were like underperforming. You could really easily do, for example, Mythic plus 15 key runs and get your Keystone Master and all that. Like, those class specs are really, really nice. Elemental Shaman is also not too bad, and it didn't get nerfed or anything. So I see now a lot of like those A tier or lower S tier class specs being now the meta. So if you're like a meta chaser and you want the highest scores, look at classes like Unholy DK, Fury Warrior. I think Shadow Priest is probably still really, really good. Like, let's see. And yeah, Monk has not been touched a lot. It's interesting. Maybe Windwalker Monk could land in S tier or like higher A tier. Let's see. It's definitely really good. And some people already gave it a S tier, I've seen. But then again, like, some of those rankings differ a little bit, and you sometimes see one class be one rank higher than the other in another one. But I think WoW meta is pretty accurate. But Icy Veins also have some good stuff when it comes to like what's highest, because they're also taking numbers from World of Warcraft progress, right? And look at the leaderboard. So I think those charts here, like those lists, are pretty accurate. So yeah, If you want to be the meta, look for what's on like rank 4 or 5 and consider playing that, right? Except for Affliction Warlock. Be careful. No, but I think those that were like really good will still be okay. So if you don't want to like spec change, you're still A rank most likely, because some stuff did get buffed while stuff got nerfed. So your DPS output may be slow by like 300-400. Like who knows? We will see. We'll see when those numbers are incoming. But if you were S tier, you're still at least A tier, so don't worry about that. And personally, I would just say pick whatever you enjoyed the most, what animations you find the flashiest and cool looking, what character look and lore wise you prefer, right? And if you want to be like a hardcore RPG player and you want to play a Night Elf Druid and you want to be one with nature, you can still go for Balanced Druid, or you can go for Pharaoh, whatever you enjoy. And don't worry too much about the meta because it's always changing. Like I spent tons of time in my Affliction Warlock and now it's getting nerfed, and I just recently changed to Destruction Warlock, but I do consider sometimes going back to Affliction Warlock because I find the way it plays quite interesting, because you have to manage so many skills at once, while on Destruction, for example, you have like a smaller rotation with like fewer skills, but you also have some interesting burst windows and stuff. So play whatever you enjoyed the most, main whatever you enjoyed the most. But if you're into meta, look at stuff like Fury Warrior, Unholy Death Knight, Elemental Shaman, Havoc Demon Hunter and stuff. Like, yeah, it's interesting how the meta will change. But yeah, that's it for today's video. If you guys haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate that. And don't forget to like this video. And I will see you guys next time.